Hi everyone, Lisa Haven here, and I've got a critical alert to share with you. Just a couple of weeks ago, a document was published and is now available on the Federal Register that reveals both the TSA, those at the airport, as well as Border Patrol have the ability to access unchecked powers to obtain your social media information. And they've exempted themselves from the Privacy Act, something that limits the amount of government authority over your privacy and over your information. But you're going to want to hear this report in its entirety because it gets a lot deeper than just that one statement. But first, let me take you straight to the source. Now, I found the article on activistpost.com and it was published January 10th, and it's titled Border Patrol and the TSA are allowed to secretly spy on everybody's social media account. Now, the article goes on to state that the U.S. Border Patrol, CBP, and the TSA claim they need to secretly spy on everyone's social media accounts so they can understand a person's relationship with their friends, with their family members, and even with the government. According to the report published last month, nothing, and I mean nothing, can stop the Border Patrol or the TSA from secretly spying on everyone's social media accounts. Now, I'm going to take you straight to the article so you can read it verbatim and you know you're getting what we're actually talking about. So here's the article itself, and it was published 27th of December, 2018, and it's called Privacy Act of 1974, Implementation of Exemptions, DHS, U.S. Custom Border Protections, or CBP, Intelligence Record Systems and Systems of Records. Now, that's the title. Now, a little bit further in the report, it goes on to make this very bold declaration. It states that in order to conduct a complete investigation, it is necessary for DHS or CBP, that's Border Patrol, to collect and review large amounts of data. They're also talking about social media in order to identify and understand relationships between individuals, entities, a euphemism for government, threats and events, and to monitor pattern of activity over extended periods of time that may be indicative of criminal, terrorist, or other threats. In other words, they want to study your personal habits. When it says specifically, and you can go back and reference, it says they want to collect and review large amounts of data in order to identify and understand relationships between individuals and entities. Again, entities is a euphemism, a more lighter term for government that they're using here. They want to understand, why would they want to study our relationships with other individuals and with the government? To understand terrorist activity is the claim that they're giving. However, these are powers above and beyond. So in reality, what they're looking at is, are you a protester? Are you an activist? Are you anti-government? What is your political view? These are the very things that they're looking at when they're talking about studying individuals and entities' relationships. There really is no other reason. So could something like this be used in the future against us, where now, because you're a journalist and you're involved actively in politics, that suddenly is a negative on your record? Sounds eerily similar to something that's happening right now in China with the social credit scores. I've brought it numerous times on my channel. I've talked about it a lot. But here they are making a profile of you to see whether or not you should be put on a no-fly list. This is where no-fly list comes from. What, for a political view? There's a very thin line drawn here. Or maybe you're not going to be allowed out of the country because, hey, you're a little on the right. Or for that matter, a little on the left. Although the current situation is they're attacking and targeting those who are more on the right. And I'm not talking about far, crazy, chaotic right. I'm just talking about a simple political view of conservatism or patriotism or a Trump supporter. And here they are making a profile. But you know what? They've even exempt themselves from the Privacy Act. Take a look at this section here in the document also, and I'm going to skim read it, but it says the Secretary of Homeland Security has exempt this system from the following provisions of the Privacy Act. It lists a few, and then it says the Secretary of Homeland Security lists that, has exempted basically more provisions from the Privacy Act, and it lists all of those. When this system receives a record from another system, if somebody gives them information, then that information is basically exempt as well. DHS will claim the same exemptions for those records that are claimed for the original primary systems of records for which they originated, and claims any additional exemptions set forth here, yada, 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 yada. Pretty much they're exempt from a ton of the Privacy Act. What is the Privacy Act? Let me take you to the actual definition here. The Privacy Act of 1974 provides protections to individuals by ensuring that personal information collected by federal agencies is limited to that which is legally authorized and necessary, and is maintained in a manner which precludes unwarranted intrusions upon individual privacy. They can go beyond what is legally authorized and gather unnecessary information like that of your social media accounts. Could TSA in the future say, hey, I want the password to your profile so I can look it up because we think you have some terrorist activity. Give it to us, or you're part of that no-fly list. That's a possibility in the future. That's a possibility under some unchecked power like this to exempt themselves from a Privacy Act, something that's supposed to protect the individual. And guess what? They don't need probable cause to do so. They just have to look for patterns in your social media. Check out this section in the document here, which states, from subsection relevancy and necessity of information, because in the course of investigations into potential violations of federal law, the accuracy of information obtained or introduced occasionally may be unclear, or the information may not be strictly relevant or necessary to a specific investigation, means they don't even have to be necessary. In the interest of effective law enforcement, it is appropriate to retain all information that may aid in establishing patterns of unlawful activity. Well, let's just gather information. Who cares about the Privacy Act or about the privacy of the average citizen? Let's just gather any and all intel that we can and do it under the radar and exempt ourselves from parts of the law. That's what's happening. What if they start using TSA agents or Border Patrol agents to say, do other things? Now they've got power to do other things. Like I said, it is a very thin line to draw, and I almost get the eerie feeling that they're attempting to scare the public into not sharing their political views anymore. Think about it. If all of us are afraid to share our political views, what happens? Nobody talks about it online. It's not brought up. It's scared out of all the public circles. And the only political view left that people will get are those views that the mainstream controlled media pushes. The mainstream media will tell you what political belief to follow. The mainstream media will tell you what to believe. The mainstream media will paint to you that socialism and communism is the number one of the world. Because everybody else is afraid to talk about politics online. I'm going to continue to talk about politics online because I want to live in a free country. And if we all do it, the better it is. And at no point should we be afraid to share our political view. We doesn't have to agree with somebody else. You can happily disagree to disagree, but no one has a right to make someone not say how they feel about something politically. This is communist China and North Korea style stuff that is getting pressured on the American people. Please pray for our country and the direction, and continue to share your political views. Anyhow, you guys know I do. I love you all. Please don't forget to check out my partner at NobleGoldInvestments.com. If you've not converted your 401k, I know I say that a lot, but please, especially later on, you're going to want to do that because the dollar is unstable. I've done lots of reports on the economy and the state of the economy and how Trump's been a target of that. So now is the time to get your assets backed by something other than a solid dollar. Put it into gold, precious metals, silvers, and check that out below. You can call the number on the screen as well, but NobleGoldInvestments.com. Anyhow, if you like what you heard, subscribe to the channel. I'm going to ask you to share it far and wide. And also, if you want to join me in Dallas, I'm going to be at Hear the Watchman Conference this coming March. All the dates are below in the information, March 28th through the 31st. So you can check that out. Anyhow, I'm Lisa Haven, signing out.